Here with Rafe Heydel-Mankoo, having a look through some of the papers this morning. An extraordinary story which hasn't actually made any of the papers that I've seen so far, but we must discuss. This is about Metro yesterday, you know, the free newspaper that's published all over the place. They get different versions in different cities. They had a piece in their paper about Doctor Who, which was quite extraordinary over the course of the weekend, written by their entertainment reporter, Azia Iftikhar, I think her name is, about basically how Doctor Who, if you're a white male and a heterosexual, Doctor Who is not for you anymore. Quite an incredible piece.
Yeah, the left always say that the right is stoking the culture wars.
Yes.
Sorry,
yeah.
Actually, we're having this forced down our throat all the time.
Right.
A remarkably silly piece written by this woman, who said that Doctor Who was never created for white, straight men.
No.
Then she acknowledged that tell that to William Hartnell and
yes.
John Pertwee. They were too busy fighting the Dalek Wars to worry about the culture wars.
And Tom Baker.
And Tom Baker.
Right.
But then she says, I've only been watching for the last 15 years. Well, yes, the last 15 years have seen the rise of wokery in Doctor Who. That's been the problem.
Right.
That's why it's actually falling.
And she then runs through a whole series of characters that have been brought in, which have been sort of what you might describe as particularly ridiculously woke. But the backlash on this was so remarkable that Metro had to shut down their Twitter account, right? Which is hilarious.
Yeah, well, always, you know, the people who always talk about tolerance and free speech are very quick to put off the comments and silence the comments on these tweets and so forth. But the fact is, you know, one of the reasons that Doctor Who has been hemorrhaging viewership is because it's become so divisive. You know, you can't watch the thing now without being constantly lectured and hectored at.
No.
And it just once again goes to show that, you know, the way that companies are willing to self-harm and destroy their brands for the interests of pursuing an
And one of the
ideology.
stories we did recently, because it makes an appearance on Plank of the Week on a fairly regular basis, Doctor Who, was they brought an alien into the show who was gender neutral. And you're kind of going, well, surely aliens are gender neutral anyway. Why make a big deal out of it? You know, nobody said, is E.T. gender neutral? Is E.T. a bloke, or is E.T. a woman, or is E.T. non-binary? Nobody cared.
Well, actually, now that you say that, have there been any female Daleks? I can't actually... And how long till Cybermen become cyber people?
Well, that was one of the more ridiculous ones, where they made Davros, you know, the man who was the sort of creator of the Daleks, and supposedly a kind of, you know, half man, half Dalek. They changed the way he looked, because they said it's not right to make him look like he's disabled, because that would suggest that all disabled people are evil. Oh, you're kind of going, sorry? No, I don't really see that.
But we've also got the issue now of this new chap who's the Doctor Who, this young black gay chap who said that he wants to make sure that race becomes a central theme of his tenure as Doctor Who.
Great.
And he's like, why on earth does your identity have to come into everything?
I know.
It's so nonsensical. And it just seems to me that you're just going to be further alienating the great British public.
Yeah.
I mean, the people that watch BBC One and these sort of channels don't really buy into all of this sort of stuff. You know, I mean, they've just cancelled their soap opera Doctors, which is watched by elderly pensioners.
Yes.
They're the last group that you want to have
to be
constantly.
Fair, it's the only place you can see a doctor as well, you know, is on BBC One. Never mind, you can't anymore. Let's talk about civil servants, because amongst all of the various strikes that they're planning to do, because they don't like the sound of what the government wants, they're now trying to block plans, government plans, to publish league tables of migrant statistics for crime and the highest rates of crime, depending on what nationality they are, which seems to me to be a pretty useful exercise.
There's nothing wrong with having more information. The more information we get, the better. And the fact that the civil service are trying to block this should send up alarm signals about what's actually happening within our civil service. We've seen a similar thing with the ONS, the Office for National Statistics, not wanting to publish details about the nationality of criminals in this country who are in our prisons and so forth. You can tell what their ethnicity
And why do they
is.
want to keep it secret would be my question.
This is it, because clearly they are uncomfortable with the hard facts and what they show. And what Denmark has shown, for example, is that there are over 40 nationalities who commit more crimes than the Danes. Whereas on the other hand, people from Japan, America, Australia and India commit fewer crimes than Danes. And it's important to have this information, because once you have that, you can start scrutinising visa applications from certain nationalities more than others. You know, just remember Donald Trump Jr. when he controversially said, if you give me a bowl of M&Ms, but I know that 2 of them are poisoned, I'm not going to take a handful. Right? We need to have the statistics at our hands and fingertips so we can know which country we should be more welcoming to and which ones, quite frankly, we should say no, we don't actually want to.
And it seems like common sense, and to be fair, the government does want to bring this in, but the civil servants do not. And I mean, this is par for the course for them, isn't it?
Well, you have to remember, the Home Office acceptance rates for asylum applicants is several times higher what it is in many European countries.
Yes.
I think it was 72% of asylum applications are approved, which is an astonishingly high number. There is clearly evidence here, sort of, I don't want to say a fifth column, but there's certainly elements within the civil service who are working against the British national interest, and they see themselves as essentially fighting a counter-offensive against the establishment Tory government, and that's what we have here. But again, why is the government doing this now? Because I can't see Labour ever going forward with something like this. In fact, Labour would probably reverse this sort of a decision. The Tories had a decade to put this into effect, and they should have done so, because this is really important information. We've just had, a woman murdered on the streets of London in Burnt Oak recently by, I think it was a Somali who did that. These are important discussions. We need to have mature discussions about the type of people who are coming
with
here.
The information which is relevant to those kinds of discussions. One final one. Protest groups, this will bring a warm smile to those of you who have been listening to me for many years, saying this is exactly what should happen. Protest groups such as Just Stop Oil and Palestine Action could be banned in a similar way to terror organisations under plans to update the law to deal with extreme left demonstrations.
Yeah, about time. I'm a free speech fundamentalist, but that doesn't mean you have the right to disrupt other people's lives or to cause criminal damage. And for some reason, when crimes are committed by people on the left, everyone is very forgiving. Like that elderly couple who tried to attack the Magna Carta. And somehow, because they're dottery old ladies and gentlemen, they get away with it. We have to be serious here. There's real harm being caused to this nation's economy and society, and just the ability of people to go about their daily lives. And it's time we stopped it.
Exactly right. Rafe, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed.